Okay. Welcome to the Monday, September 8th, PCE Executive Committee meeting. We're gonna have a roll call. I think we have two people on their way. One just walked in, so we should be ready to go pretty quick. Do we need a roll call vote? Okay, or just a roll call of attendance.
Okay, when I call your jurisdiction, if you'll please state your name. San Mateo County, Atherton, Brisbane,
Colleen
Jackson, Burlingame,
Yes, Donna Olson.
Hillsborough,
Just in time, that's the Jackson.
Betsy Nash.
Millbrae, San Bruno,
Marty Medina.
San Mateo. Oh, one moment. Is online. Okay.
All right, are we ready?
Give us 1 second.
Okay.
Adam should pop up on the screen here, and
Okay,
then he can say that he's here.
great.
Director Lorraine.
All right, are we good? Is he up there? All right, we'll wait for Adam.
These are one intern in account services. Marketing.
Yes.
Good morning, folks. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. Welcome. All right.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Okay, great, fantastic. I'm gonna open this meeting up right now for any public comment from any matters that are not on the agenda. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close public comment. And then if I can get an action to set the agenda and approve the consent agenda items, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Director Medina, second by Director Nash. Roll call vote, please.
San Mateo County. Atherton,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae, San Bruno,
Yes.
San Mateo.
Yes,
Motion passes.
All right, fantastic. Okay, chair report. So I have an unusual report this morning. And I'll probably make it again at the big meeting, but I thought I would share it with you. So I think some of you know that Jason Mendelson, who's our chair of our CAC, the way he came to us was through his brother Glenn, who's a constituent of mine and lives around the corner. And they have a very interesting family background, but I opened up my Punch magazine and at the very back is a whole article on Jason and his family and their history in Burlingame and on the peninsula with regard to their father, who worked with Charles Schultz on Peanuts and did a whole bunch of stuff. It turns out Jason was like the voiceovers of Peppermint Patty.
Oh, no
And
way.
all of these Peanuts characters when he was a little
Good grief.
boy. So I just point this out because sometimes it's, again, we're always so businessy, but this is such a fun article. You're gonna get your Punch magazine, I'm sure. And it's just kind of an interesting background on Jason and his family that is, really different than the work he does here, but is very community oriented. And I just thought it would be fun to point it all out so people can know. I'm gonna have them scan it because I don't think they have an online link. And we'll send it out in our report, so our board packet, so that people can take a look at
Can
it.
we have this?
Yeah, that's for you. So,
Great.
anyway, just highlighting.
Maybe in a board newsletter.
Yeah,
Be fun.
in the board newsletter,
Yeah.
something, highlighting some of the accomplishments of our colleagues.
Yeah.
And that's really all I have, nothing too exciting, so I'll turn it over to Sean.
Great, okay, I believe the next item, yep, here we go. All right, we'll be quick about this, because we'll repeat some of this at the larger board meeting, but did want to report out that we had a very successful summer with 3 interns who wrapped up with us on August 28th, I believe, was their last day. Each gave really great presentations about the experience they had over the summer and the work they did. So we had one intern in account services who put together a new data platform for us to basically be able to go in and get all of the latest and greatest stats for PCE all in one place, which was fantastic. We had a marketing intern who worked on our Voice of the Customer new initiative. And then we had an intern in programs who helped our building electrifications team launch our schools VE program. So we think they got a lot out of it. We sure did, and we appreciate them. I also want to let you know that we wrapped up our third annual staff retreat on Friday afternoon down at Costa Noa. Another fantastic year. Every year, these seem to just keep getting better and better. A real mix of content, including deep dive into the 5-year goals, internal values. We had a great branding and naming discussion and an overview of enterprise risk management combined with things like treasure hunts and s'mores and singing. So it really is just a great combination. And I do want to have a shout out to the board who continues to support us in having that time together. It really makes a huge difference. So thank you. Facilities update. We'll have more to say about this at our next executive committee, I believe, in October. But right now, we are down to about 3 properties that look like the most likely options for us. All are on South El Camino Real. So we will likely be going to San Mateo pending the board's approval. The addresses are 1300, 520, or 400. So right within about a mile of one another. And we'll have much more to say with Nick and Nellie next month at the executive committee, just in terms of pricing and what we're looking at. So just wanted to let you know that that is still a work in progress, but hopefully coming to a close here soon. In our previous meeting, and just an hour ago, Nick walked through a number of things, but just a quick heads up that we are looking to do potentially another prepay transaction. So Nick did a preview of how that works, and the idea here would be to bring approval to the board in October so that we're basically ready to go. It does not indicate at this point that we will do something, but we want to be ready so that we can pull the trigger when the market looks positive. We are also planning to do a briefing session on prepay for all of our new board members because it is confusing, and we want to make sure that they understand what we're up to. So that is coming up here hopefully in the next couple weeks. We also, good morning. We also, I think received a positive outlook from S&P a couple of weeks ago. Hopefully you all got a chance to read the report. We think that it's actually a great sign, given the fact that they're quite aware of the PCIA headwinds that are coming up in the next couple of years. We continue to be in a very strong position to survive those significant headwinds and thrive through it. So thank you to Nick and team for work on that. And then I'm going to ask Mark just to do a quick 5-minute legislative overview, and we'll have a deeper dive at our board meeting.
Thank you. Directors, Mark Hirschman, Director of Government Affairs. Quick wrap up. We're going to have an extensive briefing on Sacramento legislative affairs at our board meeting in 2 weeks, but sort of want to set the stage for where we are right now. The legislature has only met for 3 weeks in the last 2 months since we had met, but it's been an eventful time. A significant focus of the last month has been what is now known as Proposition 50, and that is California's response to redistricting in other states. The impact this has had on us locally is that it was the issue of the day for one of the 3 weeks the legislature met since returning from their summer recess. And I anticipate that this will also be a huge focus for the state in the 2 months between now and the November election. So may change the focus from other things that otherwise might be going on. To reset where we are in the legislative calendar, as I mentioned, the session is due to end this Friday, and this is the first year of a 2-year session. So bills that do not make it to the governor's desk at this time could possibly be there again next year as part of a 2-year bill. There will be a floor session every day this week, which means there's likely going to be votes. There are budget committee hearings set for today and tomorrow. And you may recall that some years ago, the state adopted a 72-hour rule, which means that bills must be in print for 72 hours prior to being voted on the floor. And so if you do the calculation, a bill is going to have to be in print by sometime tomorrow if they're going to vote on Friday and do that before they're planning to leave town. So we've been watching over the weekend. There have been a few bills that have trickled in with new language. And so not just the energy bills, but all bills that are out there need to get into print soon, which means the negotiations need to be concluded. The governor has held out the possibility of another special session. And again, I'm not sure how Proposition 50 might factor into the timing or the likelihood of that. Just want to talk quickly about 3 different bills and measures that have been moving. On your table is a copy of what we in the business call a NASCAR letter, and that's because the logos resemble a NASCAR vehicle or otherwise, and on the back is what is the floor alert. This is the coalition of support for SB 540 as it was originally drafted and as Peninsula Clean Energy supported it. And there is ongoing effort to get the language back much more closely to what it resembled when we came out in support of it. This is the letter that is circulating, and have been meeting with Senator Becker and others to talk about the language. It is his bill introduced by him and is currently still at the Assembly Utilities and Energy Committee. Also want to talk briefly about affordability. There are 2 affordability bills. One was introduced by the chair of the Assembly Utilities and Energy Committee. The other was introduced by the chair of the Senate Energy Committee. They differ in significant ways. And it's likely that the governor, the leaders of the Senate, the leaders of the committee are still working on it. We have not seen a product yet, and because of differences in the bills, it's not entirely clear that they're going to reach some sort of compromise. We do have some concerns with the assembly version because of some of the oversight issues involved in it, and if that comes forward, we'll talk more about it, but it is in your prior packets discussed there. Last, I just want to mention a modest but important success that, and modest I say only because it's not everything we wanted, but there is a PUC program, the Self-Generation Incentive Program, known as SGIP. It provides incentives to support businesses and homeowners for existing, new, and emerging energy resources. And thanks to the efforts of many on the Peninsula Clean Energy team, and Shalini's here, and Jana's here, and others on our regulatory and legislative and policy teams, we achieved some success in a proposed decision that came out from the PUC at the end of August. The published proposed decision removes some of the language that prevented certain residents from receiving SGIP funding. And these are mostly the those who have the income qualification, but there's more to be done that to open up the program to others. And so we're working, continuing to work to improve that decision and hopefully get further ground made up before the final decision comes out. So happy to take any questions, and otherwise, as I mentioned, hope to have a fuller briefing in 2 weeks at our full board meeting with our lobbyist, Mark Fenstermaker from Sacramento.
Questions? All right, thank you all. Back to you, Chair.
All right. Our next item, Justin, I think I saw sitting back behind me, is going to review the proposed changes to ECO 100 rate. It's an action item. Thanks, Justin.
Great, thank you very much. Good morning. So what we're here to discuss is a proposed change to the ECO 100 rate. I'm excited about this one. Next slide, please. Nope. Or do I have the clicker somewhere?
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Sorry, Jess.
Bless you.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Oop. Yeah. So the Eco 100 program is a program where when customers are enrolled, we make sure that we're matching their energy consumption with 100% renewable energy. It replaces the usual resources within the Eco Plus program with a mix that is 50% California wind and 50% California solar. The charge for Eco 100 is the basic rate plus a surcharge of 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour. Eco 100 is a Greenie Energy certified program that has additional compliance requirements for us and has additional benefits for our customers. For example, it can be used for LEED certification. It can be used for climate registry to claim different sort of emissions factors. Under LEED, it's, I believe, worth some additional points towards the various levels of LEED certification. But there are additional requirements for us. Resources have to be new construction, relatively new construction. They have to have certain delivery requirements for that electricity. There's additional validation that occurs and so forth. And we do have to do additional customer disclosures as well. So these sort of make up the incremental costs that are associated with the Eco 100 program. Staff hours, Greenie certification, and the cost of replacing carbon-free resources in our standard portfolio with these additional renewable resources. The energy component in particular really is the most sort of expensive portion of offering Eco 100 service to customers. From 2016 through 2024, we offered our Eco 100 program at a 1 cent per kilowatt hour surcharge. That's really the industry standard. That's what you see from other CCAs, generally speaking. And it's also what you see even beyond CCAs usually. In 2024, in June of 2024, your board approved a change to this rate to increase that premium to 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour, effective January 1st of 2025. That was based on a trend of renewable energy costs in particular increasing in future years. While renewable energy prices and contracts for energy, energy contract prices are generally confidential sort of information, I think a really useful tool to look at is the Public Utilities Commission has a renewable energy market price benchmark that tracks the sort of additional costs associated with some of these contracts. It uses a lot of aggregated data. In that, and this is from their benchmarks as of October of last year of 2024, you can see that there were significant increases to these renewable energy premiums in 2024, and they were expecting further increases in 2025. Now, what we found is that this has not really materialized. In fact, kind of shortly after we made the rate change was when we started seeing prices starting to go on a downward trajectory. And we're now expecting forward prices that are much closer to the 2023 prices. As a result, we no longer think that a 1.5 cent per kilowatt hour rate is necessary for cost recovery of this program. We think a 1 cent per kilowatt hour rate, as we previously had, is appropriate to charge for Eco 100. And that's based on a number of things. We've also taken into account some of the changing federal policies around renewable energy development, and we kind of hedging our costs and our risks. And we think that 1 cent per kilowatt hour is the appropriate rate to set for this program moving forward. Staff would then reevaluate these program costs in 2027 and potentially consider changes in 2028. Clearly, reducing the rate associated with the program does result in a revenue deviation. We currently take in a little over $3 million per year in Eco 100 premiums. That would drop to about $2 million per year. Because we are halfway through the fiscal year when we're proposing to implement this change on January 1st of 2026, the fiscal impact that is in your staff report reflects approximately half of this as a $500,000 change to our budget. The recommendation is for your committee to please recommend to the board of directors approval of the proposed change to these Eco 100 rates, which would reduce the premium from 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour to a 1 cent per kilowatt hour premium. I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you.
All right, anyone have questions on this?
I've got a question.
Yes.
So can you go back to the previous slide?
Sorry, this is
It's okay.
a little.
So. Okay, so the projection is that the revenue that we would get at 1 cent versus 1.5 cents is about 1.1 million less.
Yeah.
And the cost of that power is essentially the question is, are we subsidizing
Yeah.
with
yeah.
1 cent?
Yeah, and I very much hear your question. That's something that we absolutely want to avoid is any sort of cost subsidization. So we would not be expecting to be doing any sort of cost subsidization. The program would be expected to be revenue neutral under the updated rate.
And because it's being implemented or proposed at the half-year mark, it's a $500,000
Differential.
differential.
And when we moved from 1 cent or the 1 cent to 1.5, did we lose customers? Did people revert from going to regular?
Good question.
We have been following that. We're certainly gonna continue to report out on that, especially when we go to our budget for the next year. But I don't think we have anything to report right now on that
So-
subject. Yeah.
We did not, and Leslie's here, to my knowledge, there were no specific, especially large commercial.
Yeah.
Opt-outs. We did have a couple of large commercials opt down. Not
Okay.
opt out, but
Right,
opt down
opt
to the
down.
Eco Plus.
Yeah.
We know that we
Which
had a
is
few of
pretty
those.
I know we had quite a number of residential customers opt down who had the Eco 100 as the quality of our Eco Plus power got to be 100% clean.
Right.
Then the different, I know people that talk to me that said, hey, why should I spend more money? And obvious answer was, well, if you care about power that's generated from the wind or the sun rather than from water, then you're gonna buy Eco 100, and lots of people don't care about that difference. So we had change before. I don't know if we have now, but
So the question I have is the Eco 100 program, after a decade with our products getting closer and closer, like antiquated, should we just remove it and blend, just have our one regular product? Or are there some customers you
We're
were
moving
saying
to that.
that need, some customers that need that for their ESG
Correct.
work? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really our commercial customers that look to that product. I mean, we certainly have Portola Valley also enrolled. As we move closer, and that's a 2030 goal, as you all know. Chances are we're phasing this out, or at least significantly shifting how we.
but
How
that's
we
closer
position.
to renewable. Donna's question doesn't really go to that. Her question is about clean power. And
The ongoing debate.
let me
Yeah.
just throw in, I think, that's a valid question. But there's a lot of people that are on Eco 100, not because they want renewable rather than water generated clean
Right.
power. They're on it because they want to show their commitment
Yeah.
to doing everything they can to support a clean world.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously an emotional issue. Which I think it's an appropriate thing to assess, but we need to keep that emotional context in the realm of our assessment, because I think giving people upside to express that is valuable.
Yeah.
Yes, Leslie.
I noticed in the staff report, we said we'll make sure to let the people that have Eco 100 know about this. And I thought, given the emotional value, now it's gonna be a little bit cheaper, we should let everybody know, just in case we can get a few people to, you know, with those emotions and everything else to opt up.
And in our discussion, you know, when we were having this discussion, we talked about, of course, things are so much clearer in hindsight. Because this is a relatively short increase and then we're bringing it back down to where it had been historically for us. We have been in lots of conversations with Justin Pine, who heads up all of our key business accounts. A big issue for them is stability. They want the 100% option, but they also want stability, right? So that's why what we talked about, unless there's a dramatic shift, we would only really look at shifting rates on this likely every other year, maybe only every 3 years, for really balancing that stability value as well.
All right, yes, Marty.
I just want to thank staff for being sensitive about pricing, right? We hear it, it's in the news all the time. Paying a little bit more to feel good is why I'm doing this, why I'm a NECO 100 customer and proud of it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like that, but people being, being sensitive to the pricing is appreciated, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Members of the public? Questions? It's so nice to have somebody come and say, we're gonna reduce your cost.
Yeah.
Like amazing. So is there anyone who would like to propose an action for this, a vote?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, do you have another, do you have?
It's just the
Oh,
recommendation.
recommendation, yeah. Is there anyone who would like to propose or make a motion that we go ahead and approve the economics of this change to reduce from 1.5 to 1 cent per kilowatt hour?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. We have a motion by Colleen and a second by Betsy. Roll call vote, please.
San Mateo County, Atherton,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae.
Aye.
San Bruno,
Yes.
San Mateo,
Yes.
and the motion passes.
Great,
Reducing
thank you.
rates.
That was easy. All right, and thank you, Justin, very much for the work on that. I really appreciate it. I think it's nice when we can offer our clients a little decrease in cost.
It's certainly a lot more fun to come here with a
Yeah.
reduction than an increase. So
Yeah, we really appreciate it. All right. Okay, up next again. Justin is going to talk to us about amendments to the zero carbon intensity, low carbon fuel standard tariff. Which is a mouthful, and I'm gonna turn that back over to you as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the name doesn't quite roll off the tongue and we haven't had a clever acronym for it yet. So if it's okay with everybody, I will refer to it as the Green Transit Tariff.
Okay, that's easy.
Thank you very much. So the Green Transit Tariff was something that PCE developed to support renewable energy options for electrified rail. The California Air Resources Board offers what they call their low carbon fuel standard program, which rewards fuel switching and encourages and provides incentives for cleaner fuel options. We started servicing the Green Transit Tariff to customers in mid 2024. The changes that we're proposing making here are in support of regenerative braking on electrified rail systems. There's not currently a pathway to receiving bill credits for exported energy energy that's being sent to the grid under regenerative braking. We looked at a number of different cases of electrified rail in the Western United States. And this is pretty consistent where you can use the energy on site, but if you need to export that energy, there's not a good pathway to getting credit for that. Regenerative braking works very similar to how you see it in hybrid cars, in electrical vehicles, where you're converting kinetic energy during braking into electrical energy. That has benefits, it has lower maintenance costs associated with it. You can repurpose that electricity to match with other load that you're using electricity concurrently while that electricity is being generated. And then the excess energy, approximately half of it, is being exported to the grid. The challenge for regenerative braking compared to other technologies like solar energy, solar and storage, wind and so forth, is that regenerative braking exports are not eligible for net energy metering or its successor, net billing tariff, sometimes known as solar billing plan, or as we try to avoid, NEM 3.0. The reason why is because in the Public Utilities Code, regenerative braking is not defined as a renewable energy resource, which is a requirement to be eligible for these programs. So for customers, they have to use it or lose it. They have to use that electricity concurrently as it's being generated. Otherwise, they simply lose that electricity. What the proposed changes are here would create a payment method for this exported energy. It would effectively treat this energy similar to how exports are being valued under the net billing tariff. That's good for us and it's good for the customer. When we receive that exported energy, it's offsetting our own procurement requirements. Kind of a simplified way of looking at this is we would be buying this exported energy from electrified rail, from regenerative braking, rather than needing to make the same sort of purchases from CAISO. So in that sense, it has a de minimis financial impact on PCE. And that the exports would be based on the hourly market value available in the wholesale market. So our recommendation is for this committee to recommend the revised, zero carbon intensity, low carbon fuel standard tariff as set forth in Exhibit A to PCE's Board of Directors. I also wanted to note, and I apologize, I didn't get it in the slide deck. There is a second attachment, which is a letter of support and appreciation from Caltrain, as we've worked with them to try to understand how their technology functions, what it's producing, and how best to create a method for this. There is a bill that is being proposed right now. I think it's AB 1372 that is going to be discussed during the next legislative session that does seek to ultimately make regenerative braking eligible for net billing tariff. But in lieu of that bill potentially passing or not passing, this would resolve the issues there on the electric generation side or the supply side. I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Can I make just a quick comment? My quick comment here is, first, just to really appreciate the team, Mark, Mike, you, Justin Pine, Shalini, all the others that helped to bring this to fruition. In short, my feeling is this is PCE doing the right thing to really early on be in front of allowing for the credit here for regenerative braking on a very fair basis. It took a long time to figure it out, maybe a little longer than it should have, but we got there. And we don't anticipate necessarily being part of that bill next year when it comes back, because both us and San Jose Clean Power worked with Caltrain to figure this out on their behalf at quite a lot of extra time and effort. So I do want to just flag and say thank you for that. And this is us doing the right thing.
Yes, Rick.
Yeah, I have a question. So why focus on creating a new tariff rather than just redefining, the clean energy standard so that it includes regenerative braking? This is absolutely the right issue, right? Because it's clean power that's getting generated, and why isn't it included in the definition of what's renewable?
The only reason I was smiling a little bit was because that's the very first thing that I proposed. That was the best way to handle this. And that is ultimately what is being pursued in AB 1372. But that has now become a 2-year bill. and there's some uncertainty about it. There's uncertainty about how PG&E will respond to it. And so we've created this as sort of a proactive solution to get ahead of it. Though, if
The
you,
two-year bill will be heard in the 26th session.
Correct.
It was a 25 bill.
Mhm.
And so it'd be heard at the same time that this would be heard, right?
well, so this would go into effect much sooner.
Oh, it would.
The way that, if you look through the red line that was included with this, there's sort of a three-step sort of conditionality to the export credits. And the way it's worded says, this is how we're going to do it and make sure that there's credit for these exports in the interim. But it also says that should the technology become eligible for net billing tariff, that would supersede all this and they would be credited under net billing
We
tariff.
hope that'll be April-ish, but who actually knows? So we're getting a head start to provide this credit.
But this wouldn't be effective until the next legislative session.
No, this is for us, this is potentially
Immediate.
effective in October for first credit in November, which is why we're talking about it here so that hopefully you can recommend it to the full board.
So we would use a simplified billing methodology in October is what's prescribed in this. And then once a more sophisticated way of more precisely calculating credits
this
is allowed.
Sorry, this is a PCE policy,
Yeah,
Yes.
not a legal change.
no.
Correct.
We hope it will result in a legal change, but
We're
this
just
is a
getting ahead of
bridge.
it.
Well, then I guess the issue is what's the cost to us? Because it's a policy that we're doing that others who would have regenerative braking, they would have to create a policy to repeat what we're doing.
Correct, so it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that in essence, what we are doing is acting as a pass-through, my terminology, to provide this credit back to them. If we didn't offer it in this interim period, because it may be required here soon. If we didn't, I think it's valued at about 50,000 a month, 60,000 a month.
That's about right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does vary on a monthly basis. We'd be paying them $50,000-$60,000 a month, but we would be getting $50,000-$60,000 a month worth of exports for
That's
it
right. So
that we
it's-
would otherwise have to buy from CAISO anyhow.
The thought here is that it's as close to net neutral as we can get. We could keep that money, right? We could say no to them and potentially be up by 50 to 60,000 a
Because
month.
we're getting the energy.
That's right, but and then, there was also a calculation here about with San Jose as well, because they're the partnering CCA. That we preferred to just get ahead of it with Senator Pappin's office. She carries the bill. And resolve the issue, set the precedent.
She's carrying the 2-year bill.
That's
Correct.
Someone will have.
That's right. And so we anticipate not being included in the bill next year. We will be amended out of that bill. And
the
some
bill
of that
got-
was about
The bill was
procurement.
not supported this year by what kinds of organizations? I mean, something made it become a 2-year bill.
I think, I mean, Mark would know, but
It was a long and winding road.
I think
honestly.
it was just a lot of things still getting hashed out and worked out.
I think that's right. The bill never made it to a hearing. It was the decision of Assemblymember Pappin's office to pull it. By making it a 2-year bill, it gives them
So
further.
did it not make it to a hearing because of confusion or opposition?
I'm not, well, there was a letter of opposition that we saw. I don't, PG&E, I don't know if that,
Because it would of course impact PG.
because it's
They too
so,
would have
they
to-
need
Because
to
they're
work.
getting the free energy now.
Correct.
So they pulled the bill, as a 2-year bill, it has to be out of the House of Origin in January, so it would move relatively quickly at the start of the year, but it could be amended as soon as they reconvene in the next session.
I also think there was just a lot of bills on the plate this year, tons and tons of stuff and the big grid and everything else. And I think she just.
Yeah, there's
decided to
yeah.
Just not, like, there were so many other moving pieces
This
in
one was not
the
ready.
Western grid and everything else that I think she tried to. And the other thing, the transit bill, she's, the transit bond potentially they're working on. She's just been so focused on all that. I think they just said, especially since a lot of this was to probably because of, it's in her district with us and we were working it out on the side.
Yeah.
It just
Well-
became something.
And the reason why it mattered to us, to frankly, for us not to be included in the bill is that it is an example of infringement on procurement autonomy. Because I don't have the exact language, but the bill would have required load serving entities, including us, to provide this through a tariff, and it essentially was giving ceding control to the CPUC. That, so it infringes a bit on procurement autonomy and rate setting. So for us, we said, let's tackle this. It took some doing. And so we tackled it, came up with a really solid interim plan, which is before you today, with the intention then that when NBT rolls out to our commercial customers, which we think will be this spring, but that's a PG&E issue, then we will then just come in line with that program. So this is us just being ahead of it. I think also setting positive precedent and then not being included in that bill. So it checked a number of boxes for us.
I'll note too that I don't think that what we're doing here is necessarily going to preclude them from working on this bill. We're providing the
Correct.
generation export value, but there's still value that's being left on the table as far as distribution and transmission value from the utility. And so I think I would assume they would still try to push forward with making this fit into net billing tariff.
And are there other entities generating significant regenerative braking energy? Like,
No.
BART doesn't, because it's not electric, right? Or not?
BART is under its own system for procurement. They actually have a special tariff where they are their own load serving entity.
And no Southern California entity is comparable to Caltrain in terms of regenerative braking.
Not that I'm aware of, but certainly when we were having these discussions, we were aware that anything that was put into the bill could potentially impact, and anything that we do can be precedent setting for how other entities interact with electrified rail as we talk about high-speed rail moving through the state. Great questions, thank you.
It was not taken lightly, that's for sure. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go just really quickly open this up to members of the public who may have comments or questions. None, Nelly, right? Nope, nothing behind me. You guys gotta yell real loud behind me. My eyes aren't working out well behind me.
I got your back.
You got my back, yeah. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and close public comment, and I'm just gonna open that back up one more time for any concluding remarks, yes.
Yeah, first, I want to thank staff. This is, I think this is a really important issue. This is, like Sean defined it, this is doing the right thing. And I think people aren't sufficiently aware of all the subtleties that get involved with non-fossil fuel generated energy, wherever it may come from. So us taking up this is a good thing, and I think you've done a very good job, and you really understood the issue. Those weren't easy questions. I want to make a motion to move this forward.
Right. Thank you. Do we have a second? Second? Yes, thank you. We have a motion from Ms. Goyer, second from Ragsdale. We'll have a roll call vote, please. Thanks very much, Rick, for the help.
San Mateo County. Atherton.
Yes.
Brisbane.
Yes.
Burlingame.
Yes.
Hillsborough.
Yes.
Menlo Park.
Yes.
Gilbert. San Bruno.
Yes.
MTS.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
And it's number one.
Okay, fantastic. We're moving on to item number 6, which is recommending to the Board of Directors approval of amendments to the Records Retention Policy Act. And I'm going to turn it over to Jen Stelzer.
Hello, everyone.
There you are.
I got up today. Let's see if should I just advance, Nelly, or?
We don't have slides.
Oh, we don't have any
I'll
slides.
share the screen.
Oh, yeah, of course, that's great. As you all know, I emailed you earlier or last week, actually, on our records retention policy. Our first was created in 2018. So it's a basic one. And we're looking at some, increased volume of records having been around for almost 10 years. And with that comes some more risk that was kind of fully fleshed out in an attorney-client privileged email, which please reach out to me if you have any questions about that. This policy was constructed with the input of staff. And it's very comprehensive. It is evolving, little details here and there are still evolving, but we hope and plan to bring it to the board and just reduce the volume of documents that we have in our coffers, both for storage reasons and of course our Public Records Act reasons. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm not sure if I'm seeing anything displayed, but okay.
So I have one question.
Of course.
Are you guys planning to put up the document? Is that coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time the slide technical difficulty, but we'll
Okay.
figure it out.
Well, first of all, before I ask, does anyone else have questions on this? Yes.
I just have one small detail question, but it sounds like you guys are working on the details. I just had a suggestion, one of the sections where, you give the examples.
Yes.
I love the examples and I didn't see text messages explicitly listed and I would, people do use text now, even if they're not supposed to, so I would list that under the instant messages, I guess would be the category.
Yeah, I think that's a really good suggestion. We actually just had an hour-long lunch and learn training where we discussed text messages and the risks associated with text messages, but we can certainly consider folding that in just as a reminder to essentially not use text messages for business correspondence.
So I have another question, which is, all of us have, so the staff has emails, obviously, PCE emails. But the board members do not. We are either people sometimes send me things on my personal email, sometimes people send me things on my city email. My personal preference is I move everything to city email. When I get something on my personal, I respond back generally on my city email.
Okay.
Because I want my city email searchable, not my personal email. But I'm almost wondering if it doesn't make sense to set up board emails for Peninsula Clean Energy. So that we all have, I hate to add one more email onto everything, but, or at least give people the option that if you want a PCE email, you can have it so that your information and correspondence can be on that, so that your city email, or indicate that you'd like your city email used as your primary email, so that, everything is either on, because then what would happen, I'm guessing, is you'd have to have a search from your city clerk and your city attorney has to get involved, but if we could keep it all on PCE server and PCE, then it would be germane just to this business, and you wouldn't have people having to ask your city clerks to do a lot of work and potential research. It could all be confined here.
Yeah.
So I just asked.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Segregation really helps when we have compliance requests. So we can certainly discuss with staff what that would look like.
I don't know how other people feel about that. Like, I already have 7 emails on my phone, but it's sort of like when people email you political things on your regular email, you always have to jump them off into your political email. So, I'm sure we'll get like tons of garbage solicitations and everything, because it will all be up on the website, like how to reach us. But I actually think for the public too, it would be easier for the public to reach us if they wanted to reach out and talk to a particular person in find out who the Betsys, they could email you on your PCE email as well.
So here's what we can do. Kim is not here today. I think she may be online, but
She's right here.
Oh, you're on here, Kim. Hi, how did you come in? How are you? Do you have a comment that you want to make really quick, or?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, we can open it to it and they can bring it back for consideration, or
Give the option at least.
a
right?
no or yes,
Yeah.
or these are the pros or the cons or whatever at a future date. I've just been subject to public records requests in the past myself occasionally. And most of them are what I would call, nuisance requests,
Politically motivated.
if you will, but it is very awful to have to like search through your stuff and, find things and look about stuff and, Betsy and I may be talking about something completely unrelated to Peninsula Clean Energy, but it would then potentially fall under
Yeah.
that purview, and then maybe that information is brought in, so, anyway, yes.
Great idea.
So just propose thinking this through, are you going to include board alternates? Community advisory committee?
No,
Because
no.
this has tentacles.
None. Especially, we're gonna be making some changes on the CIC, I think, so that we'll have a different format, and this is actually a really good reason for that to have a different format. And I would say that, to the alternates, I would say it's really up to you guys, staff, but if the alternates wanted an email, I think really, I don't,
What I would like to say is, if you don't mind, we'll get back to you.
Yes.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Kim should take a look at this with her team. I think at the very least, offering the option is excellent.
Yeah,
I don't know that requiring it is necessary, but I think the other takeaway that I'm clear about, and we will all be clear about, because we do have we have your city emails, then we have your personal emails. And I think we could just be super careful about only using your city emails with the request that you're always checking those, right? Because you may hear from us on those. So if we could remand it back and then we'll come back to let you know, is that okay?
right.
I love the idea, and optional or whatever everyone thinks, and just for the technical team, the only request that I would have is, I don't know why, because I am the opposite of techie, but on my phone, I get all my emails, including my me.com, which I never use, and my city, all on my phone in my inbox. But for my city email, the way that they have constructed it on my computer, I have to go into
City.
Microsoft Office to get my city email and to send an email. Like on my phone, I could just choose.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm writing to Donna about, let's have lunch. So I
Yeah.
send it from my Gmail, write to Donna about a PCE that I can choose. But if I'm on my laptop, I have to go out of my Gmail and go into my Outlook. So I think if we're gonna add an email address, optional or whatever, we should allow people to access it with all their other email addresses and not have to go onto another
Yes,
server.
totally
platform.
agree. That would
Yeah.
drive me
I mean,
crazy.
even if it's just, like, not on our, I don't know what you wanna do with our server and our retention or whatever, but yeah, you guys can figure it out.
Yeah.
Talk to tech people.
We'll be
figure it
back
out.
in touch with y'all, okay?
And for now, I would say sort of starting immediately, if people are okay with it, you could use your,
City.
city emails. Or you can also set up your own Gmail account, like a specific Gmail account or something. That would be Donna's PCE Gmail at Gmail, where I know I can say everything is going to that account for me personally. So, yeah, just using everybody's city accounts is probably the first step. So you're not having people put a public records request on your personal emails. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Andy.
Yeah. Very valuable option. If it would be a lot easier if that could become sort of an email alias option that points to a specific address of your own choosing. So that, for example, if you have a particular email address that you use for all your civic duties.
Yeah.
Then that's one email
Right, like,
box.
yeah, it can just go to Donna and
Exactly.
forward it to
Right,
that.
so it just becomes sort of a public alias where emails would be
Yes.
sent.
Yeah.
So we're gonna ask Nellie and Kim to huddle, and they will
Yeah.
get back to us and reach out to everybody to make sure we have your preferred email.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to
perfect.
all be one way or the other. But we'll get back to you and make sure that we then clear out the ones that we shouldn't be using.
Yeah,
Cool.
perfect. Okay, great. So we need a motion, to, approve the retention policy 20D as recommended by council.
We get public comment. There's-
Oh, yes, sorry, thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this item? See anyone? No, okay, thank you for asking. All right, we'll close public comment, and is there someone who would like to make a
So moved.
motion? Thank you very much, Director Fung.
Second.
Director Mackin makes a second. Roll call vote, please.
San Mateo County. Alberton,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Hillsborough,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae, San Bruno,
Yes.
San Mateo.
Yes.
Your motion passes.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. Motion carries unanimously. All right, item number 7 is a discussion. This is just a discussion item. Shalini is going to lead it with Nellie. Of the 26 to 2030 strategic plan 5-year goals.
Do you
Great,
want to go
thank
up
you.
or do you want to be here?
This is gonna be long, so I'd like to stay.
That's
okay with everyone.
Guess what, friends? We're almost done with
We're
this.
almost done. I was gonna say the same thing. So we are now finally at the goals that I know we've been eagerly awaiting. So once Nellie or Brianna gets those up on the screen, we can roll right along.
Coming right up.
And do we have Lester on the line, Nellie?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Coming right up.
Great. Okay, so this should be relatively familiar for our experienced board members. All of you are on XCOM, so this will be faster than it will be in the board meeting. So obviously, we took a fresh look at our mission and vision, and we spent a good amount of time on our guiding principles and strategic policies. So today, we're really here to speak about the purple boxes, which is the goals. We'll have 4 goals for guiding principles and 4 goals for strategic policies, so a 1-to-1 connection. And I suppose I should stop myself and say thank you so much to everybody who's worked on this, including Lester, who popped up on the screen, but Nellie has been doing a huge lion's share of the work this past couple of months, and then you'll see most of these folks sitting behind are going to come up and have something to say during the goals. So this really has been a cross-staff effort. And Sean was in there redlining, so it's really been everyone on the team, top to bottom, and of course, input from the board as well. So I just wanted to stop, and I know sometimes I can be very goal oriented. I just want to have a moment of appreciation for everyone. So thank you. So with that, we're going to go over the guiding principles and strategic policies very quickly. There have been minimal changes. The changes are highlighted in yellow, mostly just to show what has changed. This is a bunch of prepositions, so I don't really think that there is a huge problem with environmental impact, but this was all also in your executive committee packet. So if I'm going too quickly, that's all in writing as well. Customer focused approach, we did not change anything. We've mostly just been wordsmithing. Economic development, we wanted to make sure that we were highlighting the importance of our rates and electrified housing. We changed some verbs around. We'll move on to driving innovation. Again, all the changes were pretty minimal. And so the guiding principles are pretty locked and loaded at this point, I would say. So we'll move on to our strategic policies. Our procurement strategic priority keeps getting a little tweaked here and there. I think that's going to continue until we are complete with our integrated resource planning process. That's going to happen. It was supposed to all happen at the same time, but the CPUC being the PUC, things got a little bit delayed. So it's not as aligned as we would have liked it to be. We did add operating our resource fleet to reduce grid emissions. I think that was always implied, but we made it more explicit here because we want to make sure that this document retains memory for 5 years in case all of us have collective amnesia. Equity programs, this one did end up getting a bit more shifted thanks to focus on external funding, and really due to some advice from legal counsel, we just wanted to make sure that we were very clear on who we're spending repair funds on and how. Moving on, distributed energy resources, again, pretty minimum changes there. And organizational excellence, I think we just like to add things, so I wouldn't say there was a huge changes. I'd say Nick was very excited to have best-in-class rate analysis and design and prudent financial management added to it, so that was a result of Nick's input. So other than that, it's pretty similar to last time. So with that said, I'll pause and wait if there are any questions or comments, and then we can get on to the main event.
Just on this item,
Sure.
I'm looking online
Mhm.
on the agenda. And this is identified, if I have it right, as it's item number 4 under the strategic policies, and it's called operational excellence.
Oh, yeah,
And this is changed to organizational excellence.
Oh,
yeah.
And are there other changes that we're not aware of? Because that's not coming up on my screen.
Sure, and that is highlighted in yellow, but Nellie, do you want
Yeah,
to?
that's highlighted in yellow, but there's everything else that's highlighted in yellow is already changed on my screen.
Oh, okay,
So that one
It's a
is
later
changed, but there's no,
okay.
I don't know, there's an interim
What,
change.
what I can do when we bring this to the board is include a red line document that shows the last version. It gets kind of crazy.
Well, I don't know that that's the right answer because that could be confusing, right? Because of how much change there's been and what version it's comparing to, and people
So
don't
Rick,
follow
question.
things by version.
thank you for catching it. I actually hadn't seen that. So did it change? Can you just quickly tell me, was it operational and
It
now
was
it's
operational.
organizational?
Honestly, I thought that you've made it.
Could be, it
organizational.
could have. We've been through it 20 times. So
I liked the change.
Organ-
was like,
so I
wow,
think
it seems
what
good
this
to me.
is really, sorry, but that's just me being honest on a Monday morning. What this was really is meant to be, this is where we reflect everything else that's going on in the organization that isn't reflected in the other guiding principles. So I'm sure I did change
My
it.
problem isn't about the content.
It's what's on the
just saying
agenda.
there's a
It's just-
change that
yeah.
I wasn't.
Okay,
It's
so
like
we
a
will,
consent,
we
yeah.
will clean that up. We'll just be more careful. We'll just clean it up for the next meeting. Awesome.
Thanks for flagging that. You're not a lawyer, right, Nick?
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's a lawyer
big
side.
time lawyer, actually.
Rick's a lawyer. Okay, that makes more sense. So these 2 slides indicate all the proposed 5-year goals. I'm gonna swing through them pretty quickly because we're gonna go in depth into each one. And so for that, I would like to invite up my colleagues who are going to be speaking to these goals. I think that's Raphael, Yana, Gwen, Roy.
Is Roy online?
Moment, please.
And I said those 3 people's names and they didn't move at all. So did you guys want to come sit up here?
We'll just get up with all.
Well, this is different.
I know.
And the point is right.
Yes.
All right.
Correct.
Well, actually, I think Raphael was the one who came up with this number, right, Raphael? So the environmental impact goal is to accelerate electrification across energy, transportation, and the built environment to cut electricity-related greenhouse gas emissions by 100,000 metric tons annually. So Raphael is going to tell us a little bit.
Or just, you want to stand?
So,
Just stand.
Shalini,
Uh-huh.
before we get into it, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
So there are lots of numbers in here, all of which I think are bracketed.
Uh-huh.
Is that what we're supposed to focus on, or is it both? Those are just highlighted because there's kind of new input and we're focusing on it all.
That's a great question, thank you. We're focusing on it all, and the numbers are in brackets because we're still trying to make sure that those are the right numbers. So we definitely, that's what we're gonna talk about today with all of you. And Raphael in particular, he's gonna sort of start with, where are we now? Why is this aspirational? Is it achievable? And then we'll tweak the goal as per the board's input.
Okay, but I just want to make it clear to the executive committee that if there's comments on any of the language, it's appropriate for us
Oh,
to
for sure.
comment on that. We're not just focused on the numbers that are in brackets.
Absolutely. Is this the right goal for us to have for environmental impact? And I think the trouble that we were having with the goals is we really wanted them to be specific, measurable, time bound, you know, all the SMART goal things. It's not super easy for some of these things, you know, change the world, do a SMART goal, you know, so I think we really appreciate any creativity on some, and I'll identify some of those harder ones.
The other thing I would add just is that a lot of these started much longer. It was like trying to put the entire kitchen sink into everything we could do, so I think it's a reminder here that the goal is meant to be high level, big picture. It is then followed very importantly by the OKRs, key results, objectives and key results, which we started a little bit of work on last week. That's really the underpinning of all these things that you guys would see later, but what you will approve as part of the strategic plan, we hope in October, would be up through these 5-year goals. Then it all gets supported by those OKRs that shift, I think, potentially every year, but maybe every 3 years.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, there's more to the story.
Strategic
Yes.
and practical.
Thank you for the context. I think sometimes I'm so deep in it.
I know, we've all seen
Like,
it 15 times.
We've all been doing this for about a year and a half now, right? So with that, I will pass to Raphael.
Thank you, directors. I'm here to speak about the environmental impact goal. This, of course, is a core mission objective for Peninsula Clean Energy. The intention of this goal is to speak to our efforts at greenhouse gas reduction within the community, as opposed to our supply side greenhouse gas reduction objectives, which are also part of the overall strategic plan. And as directors will recall, our focus is on the built environment and transportation. I think based on some internal staff feedback, the language here is a little bit potentially a little bit confusing about electricity related. The intention here is to say that we are focused on those things that can be electrified. That is the intention of that language. What we will probably be refining that language. Director Mackin?
I understand what you mean by built environment, but it has a connotation past tense. And we're also trying to encourage future
Correct. Yes.
buildings, so maybe we could tweak that a little bit.
Yeah,
Instead of
that's
saying
probably
built.
worth capturing, and we
And
can absolutely look at
maybe
that.
Elaborate by saying commercial residential, so that it kind of clarifies.
And I'm hoping, Shalini, you're capturing
I'm
comments?
picking up.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
And then with regards to the metric here, 100,000 metric tons annually. Today, Peninsula Clean Energy Programs is delivering approximately 50,000 metric tons of emissions reductions annually. So this would be a doubling of that. And of course, every action taken to date then is continuing to provide those emission benefits in the future. So a water heater installed last year, a heat pump water heater is continuing to provide those emission benefits in the future. So that's one aspect of this. The second is why 100,000 metric tons. So that's doubling the impact that we've delivered to date. What I would note here is that much of the benefits that we have achieved to date has come from reach codes, which is relatively low-hanging fruit, particularly for new construction. And it's going to get more difficult going forward. So we felt that this was both achievable and aspirational and to double that current mark, and that's how we arrived at this figure. We have, of course, also factored in our budget forecast in terms of what we think will be delivered, and so that's how we arrived at the 100,000.
Should we not include advocacy in there?
What kind of advocacy, like our regulatory, legislative?
We advocate with other CCAs, we advocate with legislators, we advocate with local government, we advocate with our customers.
Yeah, I think we could put that in driving innovation, where we talk about trying to do
Somewhere.
replicable. Yeah, but we were kind of struggling with the driving innovation, so that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this one also had, just by way of background, we had another metric in here related to procurement. At this one, because there's so much to say about environmental impact, but then what we realized in the first round was that we were duplicating, so it was said in other places, which is exactly to your point. But we did point out Friday that the policy advocacy, legislative and regulatory, needs to somehow be elevated here, so we've noticed that as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Also, can I interrupt for a second? This is Lester. Sorry, I can't be there in person. Also, what we're trying to get at is the fewest metrics that are representative of what you're doing. We're not trying to create these goals so that they are comprehensive of everything. The OKRs can be much more comprehensive. So here we're really trying to lift up the major things that are representative of the good that you're doing and keeping them as simple as possible.
Yep, Leslie. I love the direction that this is going with simpler. You know, for those of us that are not staff, are not necessarily understanding all of the technical aspects. I think that in the end, these goals are something that the general public can read, the board can read, and then it doesn't need to be tweaked when some major thing happens, you know, from the federal government or whatever, the goals are the goals. And keeping it, just thinking about Colleen's comment, which I appreciate, I would just say, and then it's nice and parallel, buildings. Because buildings is, instead of the built environment, and then it's energy, transportation, and buildings. And buildings is residential and commercial, and then that's just so clean.
I like that. Thank you.
All right, yes, right.
Okay, so, my comment is about the 100,000 metric tons annually, because this is very unclear. Annually, does that compare to when PG&E launched in 2015? Where our goal is to get to 100,000 tons, less than were emitted in 2014 or 15? Or is it, this year we're gonna reduce by 100,000 tons, and next year we're gonna reduce by 200,000 tons, and et cetera, et
So
cetera?
it's like, what's the baseline?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how do we measure that, because that's totally undefined.
Oh, we
by
were
this
just chatting
language.
about that too.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Thank you, Director DeGolia. So the intention here is to speak to relative to the conventional fossil fuel alternative. So again, if a heat pump water heater is installed, what would have otherwise have been installed would have been a methane gas water heater, which would have emitted a certain amount of greenhouse gases. So that's true with vehicles and the built environment. We're always measuring against what would have happened with a conventional fossil fuel unit.
That doesn't address the issue.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not understanding the question.
No, but what you're saying raises a different issue, which is with respect to new transportation or built environment, comparing it to a hypothetical of what would have happened if PCE hadn't enabled those users to access this clean power. But what's the baseline? Is the place to start?
Yeah, so the baseline is the existing equipment. So there are existing water heaters.
Equipment is different every year.
No, the existing equipment is the existing installed base of water heaters, just to take that example. So we have, 180,000 single family homes. They all have one water heater typically. And so that's 100,000 gas water heaters. Those will need to be electrified. Every unit that we electrify results in a reduction in gas usage, so X amount of therms, and that can be translated into greenhouse gases.
But I think, let me try. I think I know where you're going. I might be wrong, but let me try. So, I think what this is, help me here, is that this is our metric. This is not PG&E's metric. Again, this is super complicated because in another part of this discussion, we talked at the retreat about providing state policy leadership to land on a standard methodology for how you calculate GHG emissions. CARB should be doing that, but that's a whole different discussion. So our team has done a lot of work on it and has figured out our own way to calculate it. We have provided leadership already at the state level. But if I understand this, this is year over year based on our sort of what we did. Let's just say starting in 2025. What we're saying is here we're at in 2025. I don't know what that is today.
50.
Then we will do 100,000 year over year. Is that what you're saying?
So I apologize, I'm not sure I'm quite following you, but they're roughly 4 million metric tons of greenhouse gases that are emitted every year in San Mateo County. And that's 2/3 of that is from transportation and buildings. Transportation is coming from the use of gasoline, and buildings is coming from the use of methane gas. So every vehicle that we convert from a gas vehicle to an electric vehicle, or every water heater or HVAC unit that we convert, is then ultimately reducing that 4 million metric tons. Now, there's also additions because there's more buildings coming in, and in some cases more vehicles. So this is relative to what would have happened if we had not taken action.
Using the county's metric then? Is that what you're saying?
So the county's metric, there's an inventory for 2019, I believe. So that is a baseline, but that line would otherwise be going up. So every new building that gets built with methane gas, right, would add to that total. So a reduction would be the reduction of where we would be otherwise today.
Does that get you there?
So you said the most significant impact we've had in the 50,000 tons we save annually is through the REACH codes.
Correct.
Yeah, and the REACH codes most significantly impact new housing.
That's correct.
Not existing housing.
Yes.
So you have to do a projection from what that estimated new housing would have generated.
That's
if
correct.
they hadn't had the change that we've enabled.
That is correct.
So, I think, and you're not, hypothecating that we will generate an additional 100,000 tons of, reduced emissions every year, or you, I mean, like, so for, I don't know what the numbers were, but for 2015, it was X, and for 2016, it would be X minus 100,000, and for 2017, it's X minus 200,000, and by now it's X minus X million.
Yeah, so this is where the methodology gets complex, because we want to be able to calculate the benefit of actions that were taken today. And that needs to account for the benefits of things that will happen in the future. So we're not saying that today, when a water heater is installed, it has immediate GHG benefit, because it immediately is offsetting what would have happened with methane gas. That is not true with REACH codes for new construction. It is not true with EV charging. So this is where the methodological development work has happened. And that is to say, the method that we use is an annual average of a 10-year projection of the value of an action taken today. So what that means is it allows us to calculate for any given year what the emissions benefit will be in perpetuity of a given action. There's a lot under the hood there. But today, in the case of REACH codes, even though REACH codes were started to be adopted in 2019, we are now starting to see those emissions benefits. And so that 50,000 that I mentioned earlier reflects the fact that REACH codes are having that impact now. Hopefully that helps, and certainly happy to spend more time on that.
It's a tricky, agreed.
So Raphael, maybe could we have a total number to hit at the end of 2030 that might avoid this confusion?
Let's-
There are
let's
many
take that under
challenges, under that question, so I wouldn't advise that just without quite a bit of analysis
What
about
Chair
what the
Colson is
implications are.
recommending is a footnote, and we'll have to figure this out, because again, it's very layered and nuanced. And we're trying really hard to have metrics in here that mean something and not just a bunch of words. And that does by nature make it harder. So I think a footnote would be good if we can figure out a way to say it concisely. Beyond that, though, Director DeGolia or anybody else, if you have issues with the metric itself, we're basically doubling the effort that we're making today, correct?
That's correct.
Can't
Go
you,
ahead, please.
can't you just say that? You just explained it. So if you somehow put language in,
Double.
I hate to add more words when you're trying to be concise, but that explanation is very helpful.
So just saying something like in the built environment to like, you know. With it, because there's no time notification on this, it's annually, but like you say, is it cumulative? How does it work? So you're just saying,
I can respond to the time
Yeah.
window.
Yeah.
The intention here to say at the end of 5 years, we will be at a pace of 100,000 metric tons annually.
Okay.
In the way that today we're at 50,000, but that's a result of the work that's happened
okay,
today.
so at the end of the 5 years, okay, great.
Better go back and read
That's-
it.
that's-
So my proposal was we, maybe staff can consider this and discuss it. To just say to double over the next 5 years. From 50,000 to 100,000 metric tons of annually reduction. Yes, right.
Okay, so first, just to be clear, this isn't just the built environment. This is dealing with all three metrics.
Transit, build and
And-
Buildings.
energy.
And I think that helps,
Yeah.
because that does set a baseline.
Yeah,
Then the more substantive question underlying that is, we've gotten to 50,000 tons annually today, largely because of reach codes. But also some other things, we're impacting the existing built environment, we're supporting the conversion of transportation and we're doing everything we can in the energy purchase area. But the built environment probably is the biggest challenge. And a huge amount of the 50,000 tons we've achieved today comes from the reach codes. So how are we going to be able to double that without replicating a new solution that is comparable to the reach codes?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we only really started our existing building program in 2021, and at that point it was very, very small. So we've made substantial progress there. We've got a very long way to go, like orders of magnitude. But based on the budget that we've outlined in the forecast, we do think these numbers are achievable. So we're running at a pace of 150 measures a month for existing buildings, which is, we believe, to be the largest such program in the Bay Area. So we're happy with that, but we know that we need to grow it by an order of magnitude. And so again, these numbers were based on what's in the budget forecast. Obviously, if budget conditions change dramatically, then this could be called into.
since we have
Question.
8 days to get through.
Yes,
30
sorry.
minutes, I'm hoping that, why don't we have some direction? Why don't you guys take this back and take a look? Is that all right? Come back.
Let me just say, I think this is a big issue. I mean, that's the substantive, but once you get past the baseline.
Yeah.
And we need to look at some numbers.
Sure.
And see that that level is achievable based on the projection of certain actions.
So we know that in 2 weeks' time, there will be more underpinning this.
I mean, it's easy to say we're gonna double.
It's great. Yeah, I get it.
That's an obvious, easy kind of thing, but we gotta have something behind it.
Yeah, and that can be part of a footnote. Okay,
Alright.
yep,
moving on to customer focused approach. So our goal is to maintain customer participation rates above 96%, increase customer participation in energy programs by 200%, achieve at least 60% brand awareness across our service area, and achieve high ratings for customer confidence and satisfaction as defined by operational objectives and measured by targeted customer feedback and surveys. That's kind of like 5 goals in one, but we wanted to be specific. So do we want to hear from Leslie, Raphael, and Gwen about these numbers, or do we want to talk about the goal writ large first?
Pleasure.
Yeah, questions.
What's your pleasure?
Oh, okay, why don't we have,
Well, hold on though. I would say, wait, if there are no questions, then I think we're good,
oh, okay.
but let's see.
I mean.
Thank you so much for coming, but also. We have a lot to cover, so.
Okay.
I mean, we've had a lot of talk about the name change and
Yeah.
the whole issue of brand awareness and. Personally, I totally trust Gwen's judgment, so if she's pushing 60%. I'll
Yeah.
go with it because I know how the level of quality that we've engaged in around the whole name issue, and that addresses brand awareness.
Yeah.
But I think for the board, it's there needs to be some backup for each number that gives why
Will
we're
be.
choosing that number.
Yeah.
Everybody will be on hand.
Okay. Okay, 3, economic development.
Director
I'm sorry, Dr. Einstein.
I was just gonna echo that and also I just think, yeah, for the whole board and for people that haven't been attuned to the issues as much, the 60% will seem low. So just something, like I said, we all trust Gwen, but people that are newer to it, just to justify that. I'm not advocating changing it, but just justification.
Yes. And if there's, if you wanna provide any backup data, like customer participation rates have been 97.6% on average for the past 10 years. You know, our customer participation in energy programs has been going by 25% a year, you know, anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment that in the staff report, everybody, there should be a section that's rationale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we're not saving it for the slides,
Conversation,
but
yeah.
actually
Yeah,
really
put it
going
in the
deeper in the
report.
staff
Yeah,
report.
and-
That's a
and
great suggestion.
Achieve like 60% brand awareness, we're at 45% now.
Whatever it is
Whatever,
today.
Yeah, so like, just so we can understand the basis from which these numbers are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think we would have liked to do that for this one, but the numbers we're still getting.
You're
fine.
okay,
So
it's
yes,
okay.
thank you. All right, economic development, contain costs to keep customer rates below competitors while investing at least 150 million in local clean energy projects and advanced energy solutions that reduce carbon emissions, strengthen community resilience, support jobs and housing, and deliver broad economic benefits across PCE service territory.
Okay, Colleen.
I read support jobs and housing and that rattled in my head. Why are we supporting jobs and housing? If you said supporting clean energy jobs, development of, and if you said electrification of housing, but support jobs and housing is taking a stance on an entirely different social issue.
We added electrified housing or housing electrification at the retreat on Friday on a flip chart. So I think that didn't make it into the packet. The jobs, we absolutely could modify that. It really is meant to be jobs associated with the local clean energy projects that were absolutely, so those modifiers I think make sense.
We'll make those notes.
Yeah.
Just to add on to that, in fact. The reference to jobs and housing is included in the next phrase, which is deliver broad economic benefits.
Yep.
If we want to be specific about clean energy jobs and.
Electrified housing.
Electrified housing, I don't object, but I do think it's included.
So in other words, you can strike.
I have one other, but
Okay,
if there's more on this, then I've got another comment, but I'll wait.
Okay, more, yes. Betsy?
Something that strikes me is just, there's this whole discussion about housing and how electrifying housing perhaps is stifling the housing market. So that's, I actually liked the way this was phrased because it's generally supporting housing. Yes, we definitely support electrification, of housing, but we also support housing and whatever that, however we get there. Is that?
I think that's where Colleen says it starts to encroach into the world of, you know, SB 79 and all the other stuff, but that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about making the case that electrifying housing is actually beneficial for housing production and the environment. And making it near transit and
I agree.
EV charging.
And what I'm concerned about is if we say electric, if we get too specific, that we actually become targets.
I don't,
We had it both ways. I think there were some folks who felt concerned that it was too broad. Are we now gonna be getting into Sacramento issues around affordable housing? Probably not. But there, so that was the gist of the conversation Friday even.
And I see both.
Yeah. But we didn't want to strike it because it is part of the broader value that we think we can bring in
mean,
economic
And I think
development.
the job piece is very clear.
and I also
That's the
think there's
housing
an
that's-
economic case to be made for electrified housing, that the economics of it are fine.
And safety.
Right, and safety and everything else. So I don't think it's a problem. I think we don't come up as being obstructionist housing people by. I mean, you know, I think our actions have been pretty well intentioned. Elaine?
If electrification is problematic, you could say energy efficient, because we may have programs that actually aren't just electrification, but deal with energy efficiency as well.
Perfect. Staff, we're gonna remand back to you guys and you
Okay.
guys can work.
We
it
got
out.
it.
Yes,
I
agree.
agree with that. I would oppose this if we just have housing.
Okay, so you will do, we do want a qualifier or a
Yes.
descriptor.
Or
And-
just assume that it's included in broad
In
economic
other words,
benefits.
yeah.
But energy efficient seems like a good, safe place to land. Does that feel good?
I like that, and also, the energy efficient housing, and I do think jobs should be there and not just in the broad economic benefits, because that's key to the whole thing, right? If people can't do the work, then, you know, you can't electrify your home, if there's not people out there who can, you know,
It's a huge part
with
of
the
what we
wrenches
work
and
on,
everything else.
Right,
educating the contractors.
right.
Well, and it's also supporting our communities and
Yeah,
building
right.
jobs.
Okay, so frankly, my bigger issue with this language is we're including numbers for very important issues that we want to quantify
Mhm.
and use those in order to measure our achievements over these goal periods. And our first discussion was about the whole 100,000 metric tons. And I continue to be 100% focused on the only way we're going to achieve real reduction in already built environment is with lower electricity costs. Because we aren't gonna get people to convert other than the early adopters unless it makes economic sense for them. So in this section, it's a big mistake to just say that we want our rates to be below our competitors and not to target a real reduction. And so I think we should have that, and I know why we're not doing it, because it's hard, but we should target what we want to see. And I'd say that should be somewhere in the 10% range. We've achieved 10%. In fact, we've done more than 10%. So this is a goal. It's an aspirational focus. I think we should put it out there that we're really driving, as you know, with serious intention to reduce these rates and use a number.
So that was a conversation we've had and gone around and around on. I think because of the switch to cost of service rate making, we've been trying not to tie ourselves so explicitly. But Sean, do you have any thoughts on?
Well, that's
As-
really
as a-
Nick too,
as- yeah, I
because,
was gonna say,
because
as a-
I have to say, I agree, like, on the one hand, I absolutely agree, because we're trying to put metrics in order to be meaningful, right? To measure our impact. I probably rather, let me try something else that might get us there. So rather than saying pegging it to a certain percentage, right? We all know we're gonna, and we still have this 5% that lives in our ethos. It's nowhere written now, but it's still for us, we work toward it and try and exceed. What if there was a metric that said X million of dollars? So you know that in our first 10 years or 9 years, we're just have hit 200 million in savings. Let me test this. Would we be able to get to a number that felt achievable but aspirational? That would be a macro savings rather than a percent standard. Because that's where we get a little caught with the comparison to PG&E, and we want to stay away from that. Would something like that satisfy?
Could
I mean,
you
it's-
say, right, could you say keep customers' rates below competitors with the objective of saving,
X million.
and that assumes our service territory stays the same. But the other reason I'm a little worried about setting in a specific number is the rating agencies who've been very clear to us that a rating will not stay, that we need to make a commitment that that if we need to raise our rates to keep ourselves financially viable, we
Well, it's
would,
cost of service.
we would do it, right? Right.
But we've got different metrics that address that,
Mhm.
that have satisfied them in terms of, cash on hand and.
We do, but they've still, I mean, Nick, you've been in all these meetings, but they had always been very much like insistent that, you can't drive yourself out of business by keeping your 10%.
They prefer that we not give a percent. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree with me. They would, we're not planning for them, but I think it's for lots of reasons good to move away from being pegged to a percentage, but rather, how do you feel about a potential aggregated target for just aggregated savings over 5 years? That feels still doable, but a reasonable metric. That's what I look at, honestly, when we look at what is success for our customers, how much did we actually save you?
Yeah.
It's not the percentage, it's really, what did it all add up to?
It's so impressive to be able to.
Say, $200 million.
Yeah, Colleen?
I just have another question, it just hit me, where it says the investment in local clean energy projects. There's a lot of people think PCE that we're building solar farms here. Are we investing in projects or programs? And I think. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Was this the programs metric or is this only, this is both? Okay. Then it should probably say program.
Thank you, Director. So this number reflects both incentive expenditures and technical assistance, which we normally think about it under the expense budget, as well as our capital programs. And our capital programs include both our on-bill finance program as well as GovPD and other items that are work in progress. It really depends on how you consider GovPD. Is it projects or is it a program? It is a program, but they're very discrete projects. So.
Is there a way we can just say this differently so it has some meaning to someone who
Well,
doesn't know?
what if you just
we're-
said in local clean energy projects and programs?
That works.
Comma, and advanced energy solutions.
Well, and it's $150 million a year?
It's cumulative over the 5-year period.
It's a 5-year goal.
There needs to be some.
It's a 5-year goal.
All of the goals are for 2026 through 2030.
This sentence might need to be broken into 2 sentences, like contain costs to keep customer rates below competitors, and maybe adding in that
Aggregated number.
aggregated number, and then periods. Investing cumulatively in 150 million in local clean energy projects and programs. Or bullet pointed or something maybe, so that it's just a little more clear. It's all kind of running together.
So it's a 5-year projection.
These are all 5-year projections.
Yeah.
So just to comment on what Sean said about using dollar amount rather than percentage, I have no problem with that.
I think
That number has to significantly exceed the number that we're going to invest in programs and projects.
100%.
Because that's the difference between what we invest in programs and projects comes out of that number.
Yeah.
And the result has to lower people's rates.
There has to be a net
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, so this is tricky then. I'm just gonna call it and we'll have to go back and figure it out because sitting here today, I'm not sure, we'll have to chat, but I'm not sure that we would say
It's gonna be-
that they'll be cumulatively 150 million or even higher, lower in the next 5 years.
Well, this
'Cause
number
we
doesn't
just got
work
the
unless
two-
it's like 250.
Okay, but, okay, so then we
No,
can't.
it's gotta be some number, or
I
people
get
aren't
it.
gonna
But we
electrify.
just achieved 200 in 9 years, right? We just achieved 200. Awesome. And so I hear what you're saying. Let us go back to the drawing board. I hear what you're saying and hopefully we can flip the script a tiny bit, but I today, sitting here, wouldn't go. Yeah, it's
Well,
because
then
it's a
the
5-year
150 has to be
projection.
reduced.
Well,
I mean-
you have two, you have,
You gotta lower people's rates, if you don't lower.
or do programs, we do a balanced approach with
It's a ba-
lower
it has
rates.
been
Well,
a
the
balance.
programs involve some lowering, right, because it includes rebates. So,
Lowering of cost.
yeah, so there's reduced costs, not just on the rates, so. Yeah, so that's fair. That's gotta be just evaluated, that's all.
I mean, we could do 0 programs and have
Drop
more
rails.
savings, or we could do no
could.
savings, so I think we make a sort of concerted approach to do a little both.
Balance.
Balance.
If I may, through the chair, it also seems like Director DeGolia is speaking to the savings that are produced by the programs in terms of their ongoing savings, and that could be calculated.
But that could also be over 20,
right.
some of these programs are over
Yeah,
20 years.
we're
not
looking at
5.
5 and then the cumulative effect over 20 is, yeah. Okay, well, you guys remand
We'll
this
go
back,
back,
you go back and
sure.
take a look. All right, let's go, yes, Anderson.
Perhaps one language is to keep customers' costs low rather than rate necessarily tied to just the rates. That's totality. So I'm gonna look at it, but I do understand the costs, saving it's important. I recognize this is another time where everybody looks at the bottom line.
Yep.
So, and looking at the totality of the cost saving over 5 years period gives us the flexibility to achieve that goal in 5-year road.
That's right.
Taking us, on a month-to-month basis on that 10% or whatever that might be, right, that we agreed to, below the PJD session, this is really, so,
Okay,
there'll be times at which we can give people a little bit more saving with different, whether it's a direct rate cut or programs or subsidies or whatever that might be. But
It's honestly a more powerful metric too, honestly.
so why don't you take it back and do it so we can get through the next 5 here in 15 minutes. I just don't want people to be super late.
Okay. Driving innovation. This is the goal that I think Director Mackin, that your advocacy point will be well incorporated. Drive adoption and or co-development of at least 10 PCE originated programs, policies, procurement models, technologies, or operational tools by peer CCAs, other utilities, policymakers, or other market participants.
All right. We've got Pauline's comment. Anything else?
Well, I'd have the question, how many, if you looked at our last 5 years, what would the number be?
Yeah, I would say maybe 2.5 to 3. We've had really good adoption of our DEAI leadership and action plan. We're getting some traction now on level 1 charging for EVs. And we're gonna start doing a push on 100 amp housing electrification. That's begun already. So we're sort of that's 2.5 to 3. I think we're getting there on the housing electrification. So 10 is pretty ambitious, I would say.
But it covers all kinds of, again, we were trying to figure out how we could wrap it around a number of different functions at the agency. And so you see it can come out of different parts of the agency.
Yeah, if we have a really great contract management system, that might, that might do it too.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
really just depends.
I'd just say if we'd done 2 to 3 in the last 5 years, to target 10
Might seem
sounds too
aggressive.
aggressive.
But also, like, let's just be real about how much we probably haven't been counting because we didn't have that
And,
very specific goal.
and I'm also gonna say the first 3 or 4 years, we were really
Startup.
focused on just getting the energy and delivering, and programs lagged like 3 or 4 years.
True. But the last 5
Gov
years,
PV, like you would put Gov PV in there, like if we really thought
Yeah.
about it, it's probably more than 2.5. But now we have a specific metric against which we know to apply things. That's the thing.
I would say, after spending an hour and a half on hold with 2 different people, after trying to find an 800 number for UPS, which their website refuses, I was just thinking about our amazing call center. And I would call that an operational tool that I would recommend to other CCAs, because that's just a huge difference for our customers.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and perhaps I was thinking more about things that have been adopted statewide, but Gwen's team is actually gonna start a thought leadership tracking project later this year. And so at that point, we'll probably have a better idea of how many things we can really exhaustively point to.
I hope we exceed this one. But gotta land somewhere.
It's hard in this federal environment to know what will pick up and what won't. It would be very different a few years ago.
Okay. I'm gonna take public comment at the very end on all this. So, number 5, procurement.
Okay, so now we're moving away from the guiding principle goals to the goals related to our strategic priorities. And these should be a lot more familiar because we've been discussing these for about a year. So, is Roy on the line?
Yes, I am.
All right, Roy, I'll read it and then you can add any additional information. By 2030, execute contracts for an additional 500 megawatts of new clean renewable resources and minimize the reliance on capacity products from fossil fuel resources while maintaining 100% compliance in an increasingly complex regulatory environment. I took out and restrictive, sorry.
We forgot to take that.
Yeah,
out.
we forgot to take it out of the slide deck, but. Roy, do you have anything you want to add?
Sure, yes. So, good morning, everyone. So there are actually 3 sub-goals embedded within this one goal statement. The first one is a procurement-related goal that's procuring 500 megawatts of new clean and renewable resources. So just for context, I'm sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For context, in the past five years, from 2020 to 2025, we have added contracted 1,100 megawatts of new clean and renewable resources into our portfolio. And the reason we said 500 for now is because we haven't completed our integrated resource planning yet, and that number will be refined as we complete that study later this year or beginning of next year because of CPUC delays. Now, we can't continue to use this benchmark for goal setting going forward because our maximum capacity, our peak is at only 700 megawatts. So we can't keep on adding resources. At some point, we'll reach our capacity, and any future additional procurement will be replacing expiring contracts. So for the next 5 years, we believe 500 to 600 is a reasonable number to help us complete our portfolio, long-term resource portfolio. So that's the first part. The second part here is minimizing reliance on capacity products from fossil fuel resource. What that really is saying is we're trying to clean up our capacity or RA portfolio. Now, that's not very easy to do. The grid right now still has heavy reliance on fossil fuel to maintain reliability. Now, that's not going to change overnight or in the next 5 years just by PC doing this alone. And we're not sure how much we can accomplish because we really don't want to, by setting this goal, jeopardize our compliance or increase the affordability problem. But that is not to say we can't not try in the next 5 years and try to minimize our fossil fuel composition or our portfolio. So we will continue to do that, and then we can do internal benchmarking as we move forward in the next 5 years. And the last piece here is trying to be compliant. 100% compliance has been a goal of Power Resources and our agency. It is, again, not easy to accomplish in a very complex and increasingly complicated regulatory environment, and not every low-sum entity is able to claim this victory. And we are continuing trying to make this happen for PCE. So those are the 3 sub-goals within this larger goal statement for the next 5 years. Happy to take any questions.
Colleen.
I stick on capacity products and I go, what is a capacity product? I think you could just revise the wording and say minimize the reliance on products from fossil fuel resources to ensure capacity while maintaining. Because it reads like a capacity
resource
product. Right, it's
Right.
RA, exactly. It's just that I start looking at it as capacity products and going, what is that?
For the average person.
This is where we
Right,
have to remember,
exactly.
you guys, that that's a term of art for us, but
I
the
know,
public
but
doesn't know that.
they
So
would-
that's a really good comment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will
Yes.
fix that.
Anyone else?
Could-
I'm
I'm sorry, could you restate that? Could you restate that wording?
Lester, I think we got it.
Yeah, Lester, I'm taking notes, I got it.
We got it. We'll follow
Okay.
up.
Thanks,
Okay.
Nelly.
Any other comments on 5? All right, thank you. Move to 6. Roy, thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
6 equity products,
Equity programs,
or
right?
programs, sorry.
Secure at least 20 million in external funding to design, launch, and grow equity-focused energy programs that deliver direct benefits to vulnerable customers and communities. Expand PCE's work with local community partners on effective program design, customer access, and feedback.
Just maybe, we've been talking a lot about the committee on the committees. And one of the elements of the committee on the committees is a discussion about the CAC, and we've had some really great feedback and commentary. We're gonna have a meeting on it tomorrow for those of you who are on that committee. And I think that will feed in really well to this equity program conversation, especially on PCE's work with local partners and effective program design, customer access and feedback. And it's really taking into consideration that sort of voice of the customer that we're working on with Leslie, right?
Or with Gwen
And
and Kirsten.
Kirsten to sort of really get feedback to make sure that what we're doing is really on point for what people want. No point in providing things that people don't want. Colleen?
Somehow, when I first read this, it says PCE needs money, so they have to go get a loan. And I know what you're trying to say, but you're not.
I
saying
would say,
it.
I think the problem is the word funding, secure at least 20 million in external funding, but maybe they're really almost more like grants. Or
You're trying to fund the
resources.
programs. You're not trying to fund PCE
Right, it
designing the
says that.
programs. And so I stumbled and we're trying to get funding to design and launch.
Secure at least 20 million.
We're not trying to get funding for that.
Well,
We're trying to get the
It's not-
funding
it's
for the
non-rate
program.
it's non-right payer money is really
Right.
what we're trying to say here, is to really focus on non-rate payer money supporting our equity programs.
Right, so maybe just say that 20 million in.
Well, can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
I think what you need is a backup we need backup for all the numbers, right? So the backup on this is, here are possible equity funding sources, and this is what we've received from the equity funding sources over the last 5 years.
Yeah, Yana has a spreadsheet.
Yes, I do have a spreadsheet. I'm happy to share, but yeah, to answer that question quickly, again, Jana Kopachok-Lande, Director of Innovation Strategy, yeah, so you know. To date, we don't really have any income in external funds for our equity programs, except for the SCHIP. We just started that when I came on board like a year and a half ago, really. So we had external funding. Actually, we had DAC-GT. Let me correct that.
But didn't we get external funding from the federal programs or we sought it?
No, we never, we
We
did
sought
not.
it, we sought it.
Yeah. And before that,
Qualifies, we just didn't get it.
before that though,
It's not
we've
secured.
never tried.
Secured.
It hasn't been tried until 2023, 24.
And so, yeah, we did have DAC GT for the last few years. So that's a good program that we've been running. But other than that, all the initiatives have been basically started when I started. So a year and a half ago.
But we got money for the DAC thing.
Green
with
tariff.
Bill.
Yeah, that's what, sorry, DAC green tariff. Yeah.
That was before.
That is correct. Yes, that's the one program. Mhm. And so the new, how I came up with the 20 million is that I looked into the initiatives that we've mostly already been discussing here with the board, which is the equitable building decarb, the self-generation incentive program, the DAC green tariff program we just brought up that we already had, the equity portion of our energy efficiency funding, and then the community microgrid that we're thinking about doing in Pescadero, which we're going to talk about very soon this month and then in November more. So I did an optimistic and a conservative scenario for, it's funding. So you never know if you're really going to get all of that, and then found the middle between those. So it was I had these very specific programs as the basis for the calculation.
And the funding for those programs is ratepayer funded from across the state. So it's not necessarily only PCE ratepayer, which is why ratepayer is not a great distinction.
There's some taxpayer funding in there and some non-PCE ratepayer collected via the distribution portion of the bill. So PG&E's portion of the bill.
But we could say grant funding. We could, as opposed to external, which may be set,
I
which,
think of like a
Just say
raising
grant.
money or debt. so
Yeah,
it's a fair
that's your
cost.
concern, right, Colleen?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just, it
If
makes
they
me
are
go,
grants. Why don't we just do
Just grants
that?
and incentive funding?
Grant
Yeah.
and incentive
Yeah.
funding?
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Grants and.
Incentive.
Okay.
Questions?
It's a hard term, like I would maybe just say grant funding.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Again,
like. covers
Writing for the
everything,
public,
and
we're
it's-
writing for
yeah.
the public.
Right. All right, thank you. You can leave, so you could say 20 million in external grant funding. You can leave external in, right? Yeah, okay,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. Okay, any other comments on this one? Under DER, okay, we're on our last one, don't know.
This is the penultimate one, but the good news is that you all already approved this in the DER plan that you discussed a couple months ago.
808 DER, yeah, DER.
So accelerate distributed energy resource adoption by adding at least 15 megawatts of local solar, 35 megawatt hours of storage at customer sites, and launching a 10 megawatt virtual power plant that delivers value to customers, communities, and the grid.
Nice.
We're on our way to doing this.
Are you good with that, Rick? Because I know you were working on this a lot.
My only question on this is a 10 megawatt virtual power plant. We might have more than one virtual power plant that
Right,
generate at least 10
Mm.
megawatts.
Yeah, so we're referring there to our one very specific DERMS platform that we contracted with Lunar with, which we signed today, which is very exciting. You're making a good point that I didn't really think about. In our energy efficiency portfolio that will launch in 2028, we're also gonna do load modification activities that will not necessarily be integrated under our DERMS platform. It just kind of dawned on me when you said this. I mean, we are going to have one virtual power plant. That's our core virtual power plant. That's the DERMS Lunar platform. We are going to do smaller load shifting activities and other programs that are not necessarily integrated. So let us ponder on that a little
Yeah,
bit.
we
That
can-
would be outside. The 10 megawatts is just the
big one.
forecast of what we think we can realistically achieve over the next 5 years with Lunar. There are other smaller initiatives out there that we're gonna do in addition to that. And we could discuss if we wanted to incorporate those or not.
Maybe we could put them in an OKR, separate, because the DER plan had 7 goals, and we took 3 of them and put them in here, because I didn't want a 7 sentence, 7 points in the sentence, but we can think about maybe modifying the DER plan appropriately.
Yeah.
Good. All right, questions? Thank you. Is that going up there? Appreciate that. Okay. 8, operational excellence is our last one, and then we'll take public comment.
Right, it
this will
went
be
back to
organizational.
yeah, it went back to operational here, but it should be organizational excellence.
Oh, yeah, got it.
Implement meaningful improvements in operational effectiveness, efficiency, and resilience, and provide evidence through data and performance metrics on an annual basis. I will be honest, this is the one we really struggled to put a SMART goal for. We thought, what if we have standard operating procedures for 90% of the organization? And then it was, is that going to be busy work at some point? So we don't want to just create standard operating procedures to create them. So we thought we would set out on an annual basis different goals for that year to improve our organizational efficiency and excellence and report back to the board. So this is a little bit of a TBD
Yeah.
goal.
I mean, this is a little bit, it falls under the CEO's goal setting, annual goal setting every year, which is to understand. And it can be things like, getting our finance ducks in a row and setting up.
You're saying you're not?
They are. Thanks to you. Thank you. Thanks to you. They are now in a row. It's been a very long hike.
But it also,
Quack, quack.
it also ties back to the strategic policy that's really clear. All
Yeah.
those bullets, that's where you're gonna see
Right.
where the metrics come out. And we just didn't wanna have to basically repeat the entire thing. So
Yeah.
it's trying to wrap it all up in a meaningful statement.
Yeah, I think this one's okay to be a little open-ended and the goal will be each year when you look at Sean's comprehensive goals that she writes up. With the team and the staff, like looking and seeing where we're going.
Yep,
right?
and our goals.
And your goals, yeah.
You'll see it, because this one is gonna be a huge part of our annual report out
Mhm.
each year. And the OKRs will reflect each of those specific metrics, because they're gonna be different depending on what department you're talking about.
Mhm.
So TBD on that one, but this was meant to wrap the whole thing.
Okay. Yes, Tony.
Just a comment, I wanted to thank staff for all, this is hours and hours and hours of work. And any comments I made or suggestions, it's not a criticism, because I know how hard this is. And it's a collaboration, and I'm thrilled to see this in print. I think it's really, we're finally achieving this goal, which is big. So thank you for all your hard work.
And I want to thank Lester too, who's on the phone, and his team and staff working with ours. Are there any members of the public that have comment on this, Melanie?
You're clear in the back.
No one will that, okay.
I have a question before we
Yes.
adjourn.
Okay.
This one.
Well, the next step is just that we'll be bringing all of this to the board in September for further discussion. And then we hope to have your vote at the board retreat in October.
Okay, I have a question, if I may. So one thing you have not seen in this entire arc, and boy, I might get some eyes over here, we'll see. But I'm willing to risk it, and that is the question of expansion. And this question has come up, it's come down, it's come up, and we have de-emphasized it over the last couple of years, because you can only knock on the door of, frankly, Merced County so many times, and then you're a nuisance. And so we think, though, and Mayor Amabile probably isn't still, because he was in audit and finance, but there's been a lot of benefit to Las Vegas, so we think there's potential to re-engage in that discussion. Obviously, there's some technical research to do to make sure that we would be entering the market at an advantageous time, so we don't end up subsidizing or, creating additional expense for our ratepayers. But it's not in here, and so we don't have time to debate it today. But I do want some feedback from you all as to whether or not it would show up somewhere here, maybe under economic development, or under the 100, what is it? GHG's metric tons, that metric. Should it be in an OKR? So I'm just gonna leave you with that and, ask you to ponder it and see what does the board want to do with this question of expansion?
And why we would do,
What's that?
and why would we expand?
Yeah, I mean, I could read you chapter and verse, but then there will be other people who would say, no, we shouldn't, so I think it's It doesn't have to be decided today or even next month even, but I think it's something that will come back.
There are important political reasons why expansion.
Oh,
right?
no,
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I think that's.
Yeah, well, you're saying you
Leslie might
need
be
to,
rolling
you're
over.
saying you need to, specify that.
Yes.
Yeah, in quantum,
Sorry, I
yeah,
didn't tell you
Leslie?
that.
I could see it, if it goes in here, I could see it under environmental impact, because that's just a general, right, for the environment in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I look forward to talking about this, but understanding the time and where we're at.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, tonight's.
it's gone up and down, where we're gonna expand, and then we shouldn't. RA was gonna be very expensive for us to expand, and now it's a different environment. So, thank you for bringing it up. I'd be looking
It's
forward to
probably
talking about
another
it.
conversation
Yeah.
another day, and
Maybe at the retreat.
and the plan and the metrics can be managed on a pro rata conversation, right? So if you add another 10% load, you're obviously gonna be thinking you're gonna probably be upscaling everything, or maybe not, but things could be adjusted. down the road.
Originally,
I would say the beauty of this strategic plan is that we can make OKRs whenever we
Yeah.
feel like it. So if the economics and GHG savings are advantageous, we can do it at that time, as opposed to being locked into something
Which
5
is
years in advance.
the issue of why we went with a more dynamic strategic
Exactly.
planning process this year as opposed to a more static one.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah,
We
that was
have,
true.
yes, Anders, suggestion.
You've seen that in a while.
It would be helpful as we engage that decision about expansion, is to look at how we're currently serving Spaniards, the financials around it, right, the impact that it's currently making. And then to evaluate.
The potential.
rest of- Yeah.
Yeah. It's really a question for me. And I think what I'm hearing is maybe not amending the 5-year goals so specifically to mention expansion. Maybe it would be somewhere under environmental around load expansion, whatever. Or an OKR. It's a question we'll ask later, probably at the board retreat, to guide whether or not it makes it into our work plan for 26. Right? Because we're under 10 year, we have great metrics to show for Los Banos. And so it's a question, is now the right time to re-engage Merced or not? And we want to hear from you as to whether or not it's something that you feel is important.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And item number 8, any other committee member reports? Well, we are getting you out here.
Woo!
12:08, sorry.
All right, great seeing everybody.
Friends, also, do you want to say in September,
Obviously.
the board meeting will be long.
Invest.
So we're gonna start at 6:30, but just plan, we'll probably go 30 minutes.
So there would be cost